Talk of the Trollway spotlights Mount Horeb, Wisconsin's unique artists, entertainers, hobbyists, and personalities. Funding for Talk of the Trollway is provided by Miller & Sons Supermarket.
When Peter Strube is called up for duty with the Army Reserve, he knows what to expect for the most part when his boots hit the ground. As a certified registered nurse anesthetist, he cares for anyone who needs his help, making sure wounded soldiers know he is there for them. During his deployments, he has survived short bursts of incoming fire and experienced death up close and personal, with long stretches of boredom in between. I'm your host, Gary Schutz, and on this episode of Talk of the Trollway, Peter reflects on his most recent tour of duty in Afghanistan, including the realization that the most difficult parts of serving in the military might just be getting ready to go and readjusting once you get home. And like the Army anthem, life keeps rolling along.
I usually know for a while ahead of time, and it's nerve-wracking and exciting all at the same time. There's also when you don't go, and I have friends downrange, there's a lot of guilt that goes along with that as well. So you have to kind of balance those feelings. When I find out, I have to tailor who I tell and how I tell them. My wife obviously knows first. She's been through a lot. She's been through 4 tours and has been a rock star through all of them. It's emotionally very difficult. I mean, she goes from a 2-parent family to a single parent with 3 kids. Running a household, taking care of everything, paying all the bills, doing all the laundry, feeding all the kids, buying all the stuff. In the beginning, with the first tour, it was so much shock that I don't think either one of us realized it until I was gone. With the next, we had time to build up and we knew. So we were a team effort, getting things in line and organized to go. That worked really well. We did not tell other people for a while. So we waited to tell the kids till we got all our stuff in our queue. Waited to tell my parents. I hate telling my mom just because she saw my dad go to Vietnam. And I hate telling my dad that I'm going because he sees the worst in it. When I left for Iraq, he said, if you're ever in a helicopter, sit on your helmet. Because the old Hueys had no armament underneath. So a lot of guys would get shot through that. First time I left Baghdad getting shot at, the pilot banked to the left, banked to the right, and took off. And all I can think about is, where's my helmet? It took me 10 minutes to realize it's still on my head. The last tour for Afghanistan, we weren't going to tell anybody. We told my mother-in-law, just because we would need some help. We had to move her up here after we had a large amount of, we had 3 family members die in the same week. So we had to organize all that, move my mother-in-law up here. And she was the one that actually accidentally told the kids I was going to Afghanistan on my son's 14th birthday, or 13th birthday. That's how my mom found out. There's a lot of crying involved. When I left for Iraq, when I left for the first tour, I actually left at 4 in the morning, and I left, my wife took me, and I left with my father and mother standing here holding my then 6-week-old in their arms, and I'm crying and bawling, leaving the door, because I left a toddler and a 6-week-old to go. The last time when I left for Afghanistan, things have evolved. There's more communication. We're able to talk. The kids have a lot of trouble because they start to act up. You know, how far can I push mom? What am I going to get away with? So there's a lot of issues on that side. So I have to try to be the disciplinarian on the other end, but not be mean or cruel. I have to be more of a positive disciplinarian. You know, you can't do that. What was your thought pattern? What did you learn from it? And reinforce and never undermine the decision that my wife made at the time, because that, from 5,000 miles away, would even cause more problems. I've mobilized 4 times. I've deployed overseas twice during combat operations. My first one was in 2003. In February, I got a call in 2003 with orders to report the next morning. And then General Helmsley, who was in charge of the Reserve Corps at that time, took some pity on us and gave us another 24 hours. So the phone rang. I was actually standing over there. The phone rang Friday afternoon. Lieutenant Strube, you're hereby ordered to active duty. Totally shocked, kind of like, what's going on? This was gearing up for combat operations into Iraq. Was reported Sunday morning and was gone. They mobilized nearly 250,000 reservists. We're going into Iraq. We went into Iraq in March of 2003. I went to Georgia, and we were stationed there with the 801st Combat Hospital to get ready to deploy. So we loaded all our gear, got everything on ships, ready to go. We were supposed to go in with the wave that was with the 4th Infantry that was going through Turkey at that time. And then Turkey closed off their airspace and their land space. So the entire 4th Infantry Division and all of its support mechanisms, which was us, was turned back home. 2007, it was mobilized through Fort Benning, Georgia at that time, was sent downrange into Iraq, served in Al Qut, Iraq with the 911th Forward Surgical Team. We were right, there's no combat lines like there were with World War II or anything.
Sure.
Everything's a combat line. Served there in a forward operational base. I've carried a weapon in combat, but I've never been a trigger puller. I've never been engaged with the enemy. I've received direct and indirect fire, been shot at plenty of times, but I've never shot back. Did another rotation in 2010, and then went to Afghanistan in August of 2014. 2010, I served at Fort Carson, Colorado at Evans Community Hospital. And then in 2014, we served at Fob Shank, which was really powerful because we flew flags on September 11th with the 911th Forward Surgical Team in Afghanistan. It was, yeah, very powerful moments. The first one was an eye-opener, very much an eye-opener. The reserves at that point had kind of been, you know, nobody had been really called up since Vietnam. So from this point forward and that point forward, it's almost morbid in the sense that I always have a updated will, and we update that frequently. Always have an updated power of attorney, and my wife is very versed in using the power of attorney because a lot of the stuff in the house, like the cable and the phone, is just in my name. Doesn't make a statement one way or the other, but she has copies of the power of attorney digitally scanned, so if she has to contact charter when I'm deployed, here's the power of attorney. Plenty of life insurance. I keep all the life insurance documents in one spot in case something happens to me. I keep my military life insurance. I keep all my discharge papers and my orders. So if I'm killed or injured while on deployment, she can walk down to the Dan, who's the veterans officer here, and hand them all and stuff, and my kids' college can be paid for, and the property taxes can be waived, and there's a lot of benefits for that you never hope to use.
Right.
I keep a duffel bag downstairs and 2 boxes that have all my military gear in a queue ready to go. Within 24 hours, I could have all my gear assembled in one spot. Now, they issue a lot of stuff to you. So most of it's like your personal effects, broken in military gloves, your uniforms, they're all ready to go, all my boots, goggles, blast glasses, bulletproof glasses, dog tags, all that sort of stuff is all assembled, ready to go. Yeah. With every tour, I've written a goodbye letter to the family, in case that's the last one. And they're all in the safe still. Thank God never opened yet. I write a letter to each kid every day, just so they can see what I'm thinking and what's going on. I keep a journal of everything that is going on and what's occurring. I carry with me going over there, I carry usually 3 or 4 wooden crosses that I can give to the kids then, and I put them in their box when they're older. I always carry some silver dollars and 50-cent pieces. 1 is good luck, and then 2 is I put them into the kids' boxes, for they'll have something to mark that time frame when I get home. I'm in a medical unit, and it's an honor to take care of our wounded soldiers. At the time when they need the most help, I can lean over the bed and say, I'm Pete, I'm going to do my best to take care of you. And I'm with them the very minute they come in that they're injured, until the very minute I load them on a helicopter. And there's been a lot of times actually in Iraq, I would get on the helicopter and fly them to Baghdad, because I made a promise to them that I would be with them that entire time until I handed them over to another CRNA in Iraq. It really is an honor to to be able to help take care of, well, Americans and any other soldier or any other individual or civilian that's injured as well. Started actually in the pre-seminary program after I graduated high school. Had a little falling out at that time. Changed into the nursing program, graduated nursing school in '94. And being a pastor and being a nurse are fairly close in your mission in life. Healing, holistic, caring for people, nurturing people, mending them in their difficult times, listening to them. And went to the nursing program and never looked back. I love being a nurse. It's an amazing thing. I'm a major. I'm just boarded for lieutenant colonel. I have never believed that one person is above the next. Everybody has to earn the respect and the honor that goes with the rank. So I dig in with the enlisted, which shocks some of them. I have no problem mopping floors, cleaning things, picking stuff up, be part of the supply chain, all that sort of stuff. So I think that really builds morale and builds teamwork. And it never really elevates one person above the next. Now, when the patient comes in and I need to assume leadership, I'm very authoritative, and this is what we're going to do. And the hard part is, so I'm in a big float pool, so your personality has to be such when you show up. It's like, hey, I'm Pete, Major Strube, nice to meet everybody. You have to be very open, and you have to develop friendships quickly, and you have to be very positive and charismatic to do those sorts of things. So there's 4 types of people in the military. There's the 2 fringes on either end. They're the ones that they love the adrenaline and they're dangerous. They want to be in the action and they want to cause and get into trouble. There's the other end that just is clueless, and that's why hand grenades say pull pin and throw. Claymore mines say front towards enemy. Both very dangerous. Then there's the large portion in the middle. There's the ones that I fall into, that there's a sense of honor, tradition, pride, patriotism, love of America, family honor, family integrity. There's a large group like that. There's also a large group that has all those honorable traits but also needs a job, looking to provide a better life for their family, wants to put food on the table, needs an education, wants to go through, they can get the educational benefits for college. Those are the big masses of groups. If you can live in a black and white world, A plus B equals C, no matter what, there's a regiment, you will thrive in the military. If you live in shades of gray, the military is difficult. These wounded soldiers come in and they've been shot or they're wounded, and I can lean over them and I can say, hey, I'm here. My name's Pete. It's not a major or rank. I'm Pete. I'm going to be with you, take care of you. We're going to do our best. And there's been a few where, you know, did anybody communicate with your family or anything? Like, no. Well, what's your wife's phone number? I'll call them. Tell them you did well in the surgery, you're on your next step. Because I believe that's very important for the family. And it's a hard conversation to have. I've had a lot of humorous stories. I had a lot of people come in who, they come back and see, one guy got shot in the neck in Iraq. He came back a month later, totally fine. You know, hey, thanks for your efforts, really appreciate that. A lot of good moments like that, a lot of funny stuff. People say really weird stuff when they're sedated. A lot of teenage boys who are super strong and super stuff. As soon as I sedate them, they start crying for mom. I've had a lot of people die in my arms while I'm taking care of them. Those I remember clearly. I can't remember a lot of the names of the people that lived, but I can remember all the dead like it was yesterday.
I think it's a lot more emotionally charged.
A lot more emotionally charged. And that little boy that looked just like Xander with all the burns, and I can see, if I smell a steak cooking outside, and Xander's outside, I can't interchange the two. They're the same person. You have to find a lot of stuff to keep your mind busy. Boredom is something that when you're bored, you do really stupid stuff. And stupid is in the sense of you just kind of do stuff for your bored. And I have a scar on my shoulder here because we were playing Risk in Iraq and we got bored, and I had a sebaceous cyst on my shoulder that was kind of bothering me. So we paused from Risk, walked down to the operating room because we had nothing else to do, and the surgeon injected some local and took the cyst out. Sewed me back up, and we went back and finished the game of Risk. So you have to find stuff to keep your mind busy, or you start doing stuff. But I got the cyst out. And we finished the game of Risk, for which, if memory serves, I lost pretty bad. The hard part is actually coming home. When you get home, you're so ramped up and you're so amped up on adrenaline every day that you have a lot of trouble adjusting. I slept in a chair the first 3 weeks after getting home from Afghanistan, the first month after getting home from Iraq. It was hard to share a bed again. I had to be slept in a chair. It's nerve-wracking, like right now, but when we go to a restaurant, I prefer my back to a door. Or to a wall. I like to see the door come in. You can't come in because my wife has been in charge of everything. You can't come in and think you're going to reassume the role you had before. And with the first deployment, I did that, and it caused months of strife and anguish. After coming back from Iraq, I was really kind of a jackass, because I was so ramped up and so amped up, and it took so long to calm down. So the support really doesn't just go when you're there. You need a lot of support when you come home.
It sounds like you need to relearn that role.
Relearn it.
Or re-earn it as well.
Yep, and you have to go on dates with your wife again. Rebuild that relationships, because you've been apart for a while. You have to kind of come down from different levels. If you remember back when we were attacked in 2001, there was a lot of, hoorah and rah, 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 flags flying, yellow ribbons on the trees. People were very patriotic and into it. We kind of unified a little bit more as a country. We really have forgotten. We still have troops in Iraq, troops in Afghanistan, and we've been at war in Kosovo since 95 and 96, and we still have thousands of troops there. And we've kind of let it go by the wayside. And I love the yard signs that say support the troops, but what I think they should say is support the troops' families. Because for me, when I'm over there, it's fairly easy. I have a gun, they feed me, I can protect myself, they give me clothes to wear, all the stuff I need, what to do, where to go, they fly me there. I don't really carry money or cash, there's nothing like that. But at home, all of these families become single parent households with 3 kids or 4 kids, whatever they have. And it's, luckily our church is fantastic. Our pastor is John Twighton, amazing guy, really helpful. A lot of the church was very supportive. When I got injured in Afghanistan, I flew to Germany. And this is small town. Amazing, amazing culture. Helen Call, who goes to our church at ELC, and her husband, they were saying a prayer for me at church. She was sitting behind my wife, tapped my wife on the shoulder. My son-in-law and my daughter are stationed at Ramstein. They'll be over to see your husband tonight. Knock on the door. Well, that was Colonel Waller. That was her son-in-law. He showed up with his 2 teenagers. They picked me up, and I was waiting to go into surgery, so it was a couple days before surgery. They picked me up. His wife had had emergency appendectomy the night before. We went to their house. I'm on my crutches. His wife's sitting across from me, just had emergency surgery. The neighbors bring over tater tot casserole. Now that's small town Wisconsin right there. But this is in Germany. But it's because of the connection through the church that we do that. Globally as a community, I think there's a lot of apathy. People have gone along their daylight. It's not on the news a whole lot anymore. Like the big thing with Vietnam is it was on the news every night. That's the first time we ever broadcast a war. We had the draft, a lot of stuff going on. As we start getting smaller into segments of different groups in the community, I think there's a lot of response. There was a huge program for the teachers at the high school and support staff to box up a ton of Christmas stuff to send overseas. And the photo's impressive, it's amazing. But a small microcosm in the big picture. The village erected the Freedom Park, the new flags and sort of stuff. The American Legion and the VFW never even knew I went or came back. So I think there's a missing piece in the communication there. The first couple tours with the church, no clue. Didn't even pay attention. Nobody called the family. Nothing. The third tour and the fourth tour, total opposite. Things really evolved and changed. So the church now has like bulletins in it. Anybody serving overseas or in the military, let us know so we can help support. So it's kind of weird. You see on one end, really patriotic as a global big picture, kind of fallen out of favor. But then on the other end, you see smaller groups that have realized we need to keep the thing going. So you have smaller groups trying to do more. There's a lot of really good people that do a lot of really good stuff every day that you don't even know they do stuff for you, that we need to start having better recognition of. And that was one of the hopes I hope that came through in writing some of those papers, especially the thank you column. It's amazing what a lot of people do that doesn't get recognition. My father served 2 tours in Vietnam with the Marine Corps. My grandfather served in World War II. We've had family members, battlefield commissions on the battlefields at Bull Run. He's the only other officer in the family. So I do tease like my dad a few times occasionally. He'll text me something or say something and I say, Corporal, are you on your feet when you're saying that? You at attention? And I get a few comments back that I can't share, but there's definitely a lot of honor and tradition, a lot of family pride. And I serve with pride. And then in the absolute same breath, I'm saying the exact same thing that my grandfather probably said. I know that my dad said, I hope to God that my kids never have to put the uniform on. Because it scares me to death that they'd have to go through the same thing that I went through, that my dad went through. And my grandfather went through, and my great-grandfather went through, and my great-great-grandfather went through. And I'm sure they all said the exact same thing about their kids, that we hope we get to a time in our world where nobody has to put a uniform on. But the realist in me knows that there's always going to be somebody who has to stand on a wall or stand on a line to say no more. So it's really a catch-22 sometimes.
Coming up on Talk of the Trollway, it could be you or someone you know. Talk of the Trollway is a locally produced TV series highlighting the artistic, entertaining, and interesting people in the Mount Horeb area. Let us know who we haven't met yet. Email talktrollway@gmail.com. Talk of the Trollway is a production of Mount Horeb, Wisconsin's village cable station, Trollway TV. Funding for Talk of the Trollway is provided by Miller & Sons Supermarket.